Welcome to the Week of Action, organized by EIT Climate-KIC and our global communities. Or welcome back if you joined us yesterday. You are watching the Climathon YouTube or Facebook page. My name is Bjarke Korsøj. I'm the Climathon lead at EIT Climate-KIC. And EIT Climate-KIC, the organization behind the Week of Action, is a knowledge innovation community. So that's what KIC stands for. And it basically means that we are a community of more than 400 partners. We are bringing them together to exchange knowledge about how to deal with climate challenges, and in the other end, hopefully develop some innovations that we can implement so we can contribute to a net zero economy. With me in the studio, I have my colleague Christian Daube from one of the strategic programs called Climate Accelerator. And the strategic programs are much about activating people, so really getting people involved. We are educating them. We're giving people the skills to deal with some of the climate challenges of tomorrow. And then we're accelerating all the great ideas that you have. And Accelerator is the program that you are representing, Christian. But maybe first you could tell us about why did we put together the Week of Action?
Sure, Bjarke. Good morning, bom dia, buenos dias, and guten morgen to everyone out there. Thanks for joining us. The Week of Action has a big purpose. We have to move towards a destination of 1.5 degrees and fight climate change. And that's where we are supporting innovators and entrepreneurs out there to fight climate change. And these guys, we want to celebrate them, really. We want to celebrate them, showcase them, show them to you guys to inspire you, as well as showing our partners and talking to our partners about what they're doing in their regions to boost entrepreneurship and boost climate and help these innovators grow in the market, basically. That's the main idea, and that's what we're here for all week long, basically, Bjarke. What do you think about this?
I'm very excited, and also the fact that we're just doing this right before the UN Climate Summit COP that's happening. It's actually starting next week. So we're doing this also to show you, well, hopefully we'll get a deal signed within 3 weeks. But we also wanted to show you just some of the really great examples of climate action out there. And every day for the Week of Action, we have a theme of the day on our social media. And the theme of the day yesterday was mobility. And we saw a lot of really interesting mobility projects shared with us under the hashtag Destination 1.5, where point is spelled out. The theme of today is water. And Christian, did you actually know that only 1% of the water on Earth are drinking water?
I didn't. It's not much. I didn't know.
So that's really an issue, and it's becoming a bigger issue with climate change. That now in 2050 we're going to be 10 billion people, and with so little water to drink, we really need to do something about it. So we want to encourage you to share with us if you know of great projects where you're tackling water scarcity. Or if you feel like your region or city could actually be called out to do something about the water crisis, then do share with us under the hashtag Destination 1.5. And before we dive into the agenda, I know we have a really exciting agenda for today. We actually have a small message from our CEO, Kirsten Dunlop. So we're just going to play that right here.
Hello, my name is Kirsten Dunlop and I'm the CEO of EIT Climate-KIC. Our Week of Action celebrates the climate actions taken by citizens, by youth, entrepreneurs and change makers that are united through our education, our entrepreneurship and our acceleration programs. Tune in live to learn more about the climate challenges we're facing and the transformative solutions that are changing the world.
So you're watching the Week of Action on the Climathon YouTube page or Climathon Facebook page. And We just heard from our CEO how important it is that we really start to do something about the climate challenges. And Christian, we want to show actually what people are doing out there. So could you tell us just a little bit about what's on the agenda for today? What can people out there look forward to?
Sure. All of you can listen in to many very interesting discussions today. At 10 a.m. we've got two happening. So Bjarke with the Climathon organizers are talking about how they are engaging citizens to create ideas to fight climate. As well as at 10 a.m. we'll have a session on how to transform education systems in climate action, basically. So just happening right now, tune in. At 12 p.m. Central European time, we will be talking about an entrepreneur and his journey and his future plans on his business with Triply called Chris. And at 1 p.m. in the afternoon at Central European time, we will be talking about how we are boosting entrepreneurship in our African region and continent with different climate accelerator partners. And then at 3 p.m. we will be talking about how we are boosting entrepreneurship and climate in our Latin American region, let's say, with different climate accelerator partners out there as well. And then at 5 p.m. Central European time, stay tuned, we will be having two sessions. One of them is called Spark, where we will be talking about our space program, basically, and it's a free workshop to join. And then I think the second one at 5 p.m. is around one of our journey participants, and he will tell his journey and his future plans on how he's fighting the climate change. So I think stay tuned in all these sessions. They will be happening across LinkedIn, Facebook, and our YouTube channels. Stay tuned, join in, listen in, and be curious and ask many questions. What do you think about this agenda?
I'm very excited. If I was you, I would book the whole day to just watch all these sessions and really learn from people, get inspired to take climate action yourself out there. And again, like Christian, you said, do share with us all the different initiatives, maybe the projects that you're working on. We really want to hear from you. So Christian, you said it yourself, you'll be back with Climate Accelerator at 12 Central European Standard Time. So we'll see you in a few hours. And thank you for joining us here at the opening, the welcoming of day 2.
Sure, have a good session and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So we also just opened the chat now for you to put in any questions you have for me in the studio or when we're bringing on the guest that we've planned today. So we have interviews with some of the Climathon local organizers, Climathon participants. If you have questions for them, then put them in the chat. Right now it's open. You can also share some of the great ideas you might have about how to make your city carbon neutral. This is actually also the starting point for the Climathon. This is what we've been doing since 2015, where we've been bringing citizens and cities together to solve their climate challenges and come up with ideas that could be implemented and scaled. Today, we have 195 cities joining us. So this is a growing movement, and we really encourage everyone out there who feel like they want to take climate action locally to join the Climathon movement. The Climathon is very much about developing ideas, but it's also about bringing people together, creating network, and learning from each other. And speaking of the people that are part of the Climathon movement, so these are the local organizers, these are the participants. Throughout this week, we're going to talk to both local organizers and participants to really inspire you to hopefully follow in their footsteps so you can be the change locally. And I'm actually going to bring on my first guest now, who is one of our local organizers. But before we do that, we actually have a small video just to show you the Climathon journey. So just hold on for a moment and then we'll play the video and then we'll bring on the guest.
We know why we are here. We have 10 years. The change we need is up to us. It's on our watch. The question is, how can we do it? How far can we go and how quickly? Because we also know the easy stuff is done. What remains is far more difficult and unprecedented. We need transformation, and we need it in time. That's what Climathon is all about. joining forces, connecting cities to us, to the people who live in them, to work together for change, uniting our determination, our hope, our fear, and our courage. I want my children to live without fear and without shame in cities and communities that renew and regenerate the extraordinary world we live on. This is your time and your opportunity. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your ideas, your energy, your listening together with everyone else here. Please be bold. What you do here can change the world, and we need that. We're with you.
So welcome back. You're on the Climathon YouTube page or Facebook page, watching the Week of Action organized by Climate-KIC together with our global community. And like I mentioned before, I'm now gonna bring my first guest on, who is one of our long-standing Climathon organizers from Austria. She is with us right now. So Natalie, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really thrilled to be part of this.
And I know that you actually a graphic designer by trade, and you're using now your skills to really do something about the climate. So can you tell us maybe also about how did you get involved in all of this climate action in the first place?
Well, actually, I was interested in working in the sustainability area, and I started working for Climate-KIC and organized an event that was just parallel to the first Climathon in Vienna in 2018. And when I got to know the program, I just got so excited. I wanted to do it right away in Wolkersdorf, where I live now, because I just thought it was a great opportunity to get people together, which I love to do. And it just gets so powerful, and for the issue of climate change, there are so many ideas out there. The people just get into it, and the Climathon is a great framework where you can give them space to exchange, also with experts, with the politicians and everybody, and well, get it on.
And I know that you mentioned the city Climathon Wolkersdorf. I know it's a smaller town, and what I also know you have some climate challenges there. That, for example, you're actually experiencing water stress. For our topic of today is water. Are you also personally thinking about how you are, using water? Is that something that's a topic that's very much debated in the city of Wolkersdorf?
Yeah, well, basically, I know many people, and we ourselves are thinking of all the possibilities to not only retain rainwater, for example, I'm sure also save water on a daily basis, but also the opportunities you can have by, a friend of ours said, dryness attracts dryness, and so since we're a really dry region, I'm always keeping that in my mind to try to have, as for example, in the garden or on the roads, trees and areas where you have a little bit of humidity. So I hope that in the area we can create more of those, so we can attract more water, more rain, and work against the drought.
I think that's just great examples of what we can actually do to tackle some of the challenges without having, like, we don't need only technological solutions. There are also other solutions, like you just mentioned, where you can actually start by tackling it already now if you're seeing that your city is also experiencing climate issues. So Natalie, I know that your Climathon has not kicked off yet this year. You are going to kick it off on Friday, the 29th. So we're actually kind of interfering, maybe some of the planning that you're doing, but how, like, where are you right now? What's your focus also for people out there to understand what's kind of going through the mind of a Climathon organizer within the last days before the big event?
Yeah, it's really packed, and I'm trying not to forget anything. My list is growing as the day is coming closer, but we already got so much done. Actually, we had some 4 times the warm-up event we called the Klimastammtisch. We held it on the weekly market that is here every Friday afternoon, and this is where we gathered a couple of ideas. So for us, it was an opportunity to engage with the people, to get them talking, get them thinking, and eventually motivate them to participate and get engaged in the Climathon. And what was the other part of your question? I forgot it.
It's more like now leading up to the Climathon, just a few days before the Climathon. How are you feeling, and what's kind of the focus? What do you need to get done after this?
Well, I'm excited, obviously. Pretty nervous too. But yeah, we have our experts, we have our agenda, we have enough participants by now, and I think we could get started by tomorrow with just all these little tiny things like the handouts and a little bit of material, because we wanted to give the people basic knowledge of the frameworks that are already happening in the city of Wolkersdorf. We are part of different programs that are, called KLA, that are around energy saving and, finding solutions for the climate change. And so from these frameworks that come from the country of Austria, we could have the opportunity, all the solutions that are coming out of the Climathon, carry them on through those programs, so they have a way to get realized, implemented.
That sounds very also like you have an aspiration for what you really want to achieve with this Climathon. And I really also like the thing you said just before about this Klimastammtisch, where you're actually bringing the citizens together to engage them also in the warm-up. I think that's a really great way of doing it. And I know your topic of the Climathon is how you want Wolkersdorf to look by 2030. So what's your expectation? What do you expect to get out of this with also such a kind of, like a dreamy topic?
Yeah, we have so many goals. Like we have the SDGs, we have in Austria, we have this framework called Fit for 55, and so we have many frameworks and goals that are around us. But I see that the people want to get engaged, and I think that for Wolkersdorf, I took this 2030 date so we could, it's pretty close. It's 9 to 10 years, so it's something you can build a relation to, and eventually when you start, for example, building up a little forest, it's something in 10 years it's tangible. And so this is why we did this visionary, dreamy kind of thing, like how should it look like to get rid of all kinds of, that doesn't work, they tried it, that didn't work, the politicians didn't like it, the people didn't like it. Just get rid of all of this and just think, what would you really like to have? And if you do have an emotional connection, you probably will, get involved and try to make it happen.
I think that's a very good point. Also, again, just the framework of Climathon is what you can actually, you can dream a little bit about what you want, and then hopefully also be able to implement it going forward. So now you've been an organizer for a few years. So I'm kind of curious, what for you is the most fun part about being an organizer, and maybe what's the most challenging part about being an organizer?
Well, what gets me really excited is the exchange with the people. I love to talk with them, get inspired by their ideas, by their solutions, and just learn from all the other people. And when the participants tell me that this is what they enjoyed most about Climathon, I'm just, that's the best part, basically. So give and take, exchange. And well, the most challenging part is the setbacks. 2020 was one of those where you're planning on alternatives, getting some solutions despite the lockdowns and everything, and then everything is turned down, and you're like, okay, all the work was for nothing. And then you realize, no, it's not for nothing. You learned, and you just keep on taking that to another level. So yeah, this is basically, just keep on going. It's the most challenging part.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's also what I see of local organizers like yourself. You keep going. It doesn't matter if we're hit by COVID or something else. We want to keep going. We want to actually make something happen in our city. And just maybe talk to us a little bit more about this. You said the energy of the participants. That's something that really motivates you. So could you maybe give some examples, or like how that is?
Well, as you mentioned, we're in a rather small town, 8,000 people. Many of them know each other since they're little kids. And they get together, like we have a really lively community, basically. But one of the participants, for example, said, they grew up together, but they never got the opportunity to just sit together and really build up something they really care about, like tackling the climate change in their region. And they did it for the first time 2 years ago. And so they really enjoyed that. Another person just really enjoyed that you could work, but in an environment that was full of, fun experience that was positive, basically. So yeah, I think those are two.
I think those are great examples. If you're up for it, Natalie, I'm just going to check if there are a few questions, because we also asked people that they could put in any questions they had in the chat. So I'm just gonna see if there are. Okay, there are no questions yet. But if there are anyone with questions out there, then please do put your questions into the chat for Natalie. Natalie, I also just want to ask you. So, what is it about the Climathon movement that makes you want to be a part of this movement, and also, like, for example, today joining the interview when you're actually in a very busy period of the Climathon planning?
Well, I mentioned it earlier. It inspires me, and I'm a graphic designer, so I draw my energy and my passion from getting inspired, getting to hear what other people do, and eventually be able to use it for our community here. So this is what the Climathon does for me. You get to learn from other people, and it's international, so it's very diverse, so very different communities, and still we have all those little different topics that reunite us, and we can learn from each other on so many different levels. So this is what I love about the Climathon, basically, and also how flexible we are. I talked about the diversity, the cultural, and the basically the community diversity, but also the formats are so very different. You have the big startup university, or little rural areas. So everybody has their challenges, and they can exchange on this platform within the community and learn from each other. Yeah.
Very good point. And we have one question actually in the chat for you. I think you mentioned it a few times, but it's about like how you found Climathon and how you decided that you wanted to be an organizer of the Climathon.
Well, as I mentioned, I was working at an event just parallel to the Climathon in Vienna, and I think it was the opportunity of building up a framework where the people could get the experience that I would that I was loving, basically. Get into a workshop and not only working and being dragged from one point to the other, but have this greater purpose also. And when you talk with people, many of them have ideas or eventually get frustrated because they think that things are moving too slowly and everything. And this is things that I hear here in my community. So I figured it was just perfect place to get the people together, mingle up the ideas and just get things done. Start somewhere, then you can learn from things that happened and keep on moving. So yeah.
Yeah, and do you have anything, any advice for someone who maybe are watching right now, who would want to be a Climathon organizer? Like, what do they need to consider? Also, maybe how they become involved in the Climathon?
Well, I think if they're already watching, that's a great start, basically, is getting to, see what's happening, getting in touch with the community, get in touch with you, Bjarke, and all the Climathon Central people. And, even if you maybe not start today, this year, but just get an idea of how it's built up and get your people together, like-minded co-workers or the politicians in your area. Just get a crowd together and start building and this flow of information, so you get an idea of what your region really needs, what the people are willing to put into, and where you can go from there.
Definitely. And Natalie, just before I let you go, I have one last question from the chat. So we touched a little bit upon this as well, but it's what maybe this year was the most challenging part, the most difficult part for you about putting the event together? Because obviously, again, we know that the last year was difficult with COVID, but what was challenging this year? Because, maybe not knowing if you could organize in person.
Well, I knew that my partners really wanted to have an on-site event with, people not over the internet. But so I was just not thinking about eventual lockdowns. I'm just planning on a, inside event, and that's it. But the most challenging part, I think, was myself. I had so many ideas, and I wanted to do so many things, and I just the time was too short. So I had to take back and think, okay, what do you really need? And take, talk back with the team and just think of what's really necessary. And eventually for next year, have this ground so we can build up and eventually have, a bigger team, or I don't know. So, grow from there.
Yeah, really like the enthusiasm and resiliency that you're showing. So we're so happy to have you as part of the Climathon, and I wish you the best of luck for Climathon in Wolkersdorf. Again, it kicks off on Friday, the 29th. So if people watching are interested in following the Climathon in Wolkersdorf, do you have social media channels or something where they can follow it?
Yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook, basically. Yeah, I think this is where we will be trying to share some things live. We'll see how we get there.
Yeah.
So very exciting, and
Definitely. Well, I wish you the best of luck, Natalie, and thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be in touch. So thank you again.
We will. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you. So, as you can see, we really cherish the local organizers that we have in Climathon, because of the resiliency that you just heard from Natalie. It doesn't matter what we throw at them or what the world throws at them. They still want to organize these events to bring their citizens and cities together, because they see that climate change, we can't just sit around and wait for it. We really need to do something about it now. So now we're gonna shift a little bit to the participant side, and we're gonna hear from one of the teams that took part in the Climathon last year. It was in Climathon London, and this team came up with, again, a great idea that ended up winning the Climathon in London. It was called No Appetite for Waste. So they were looking at waste in schools around London and really trying to encourage kids from a young age to become more knowledgeable about, okay, what are some of the issues about wasting food. They haven't really progressed that much with their idea, but some of the things that they told me that they really learned from this experience is that they got to know much more about how they could use their own skills to really promote climate action and take action also locally. And we've spoken to the team, so we have a small video here also about their experience from the Climathon last year.
My name is Benedict. I'm based in London. I was working at Google until the end of last year, and I left to work in climate tech. So I'm working with startups who develop solutions to fight climate change. And my role is to advise them on product development and product market fit. I took part to the 2020 Climathon edition in London, and I chose the theme of food waste. I didn't know much about it, and I thought, well, it's a good way over a weekend to tackle that topic and to get to learn a lot. So we settled on fighting food waste in schools, and we called our project No Appetite for Waste. And our idea was to do a yearly challenge in schools to teach the kids what was food waste, its impact, and how they could contribute to reduce it. And our idea was to gamify it between the different schools so that there would be an exchange of good practice and that food waste would be reduced across the school system. I love hackathons. I love the fact that over 2 days, short period of time, you get to produce a result with people that you don't know and potentially on a topic that you don't know either. It's all about having new ideas. So it's intense. You go through a lot of difficult moments. I'm going to call them deserts, really tough times where ideas are not coming, or you feel like the team is not agreeing, doesn't want to make a decision. But overall, you know that you have to produce this pitch at the end, and you get there, and so it's extremely rewarding when it's all over, when you hand in that video pitch. And of course, it's extremely rewarding when you win the London edition. That was a fantastic surprise.
So welcome back. You are watching the Climathon YouTube channel or Facebook channel, and we're streaming the week of action. So this is the week just before the UN Climate Summit COP. And we are showing and bringing you some of the people who are out there actually taking climate action right now. So they're not sitting around waiting, they're doing something about it. And we just heard from one of the teams from last year, the winning team from Climathon London, and they have a great idea. So again, if you're sitting out there and you're thinking, hey, that's a great idea, I would actually like to get involved with that team, then do reach out to us, because this is also part of the Climathon community, is actually connecting people with ideas, with people who could have ideas on how to implement or scale them. So, so do reach out to us. And talking about ideas, then we are going to invite one of the winning teams from this year. So I mentioned before that Climathon, we have 195 Climathons this year, which means that they're not all taking place in this week. There's actually close to 100 this week, but they're taking place throughout the year. That's the flexibility of the Climathon movement as well. And we have seen some really great ideas come out of some of the Climathons that already happened. And just this beginning of October, there was a Climathon in Riga, where the winning team came up with a really interesting idea around compost. Their challenge was food. So I'm going to bring on the two of the team members now who will be joining me here in the studio. And that is Marita and Sanne. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
So,
Hello.
thank you so much for joining us. I know that you both are very busy. You participated in a Climathon earlier this year in October. How was your experience from being part of that, and have you been part of a hackathon before? Maybe Sanne, you start.
So yes, this was our first hackathon experience together, especially with Marita, because we have worked a lot in other NGO contexts. And this was quite amazing because we had the opportunity to look at our usual topics on the other sides, taking also into consideration other aspects than usual ones, than environmental, legal, technical ones. So we had the opportunity to have also an environmental anthropologist and project manager Aya Rusa with us, and an architect and designer Krishanis, who during the Climathon translated and our bright ideas into fascinating visualizations. So this was really amazing to keep the topic, but to look from the other side and to move on that.
Yeah,
So maybe Marita
that sounds amazing. So Sanne, I know you're an environmental engineer by background, and Marita, you actually worked for the Riga City Council as head of waste reduction. So you, Sanne just said that you worked together before. Like, how do you know each other, Marita?
Well, Zana and I, we met. We both had kind of parallel stories. We both left Latvia many years ago, I think in around 2009, 2000 something. And then we both worked in waste management with waste in I in Spain and Argentina, and Zana in France. And then we came back both simultaneously in Latvia, and we found ourselves in organization Zero Waste Latvia. So that's how we met. And Zana and Zaļā Brīvība, another environmental NGO from Latvia. And I think we have these capacities that complement each other. Like Zana, she's an expert in composting. She can, what's your story? You can compost an avocado pit in 2 weeks or something. Like she's environmental engineer, so she knows what she's doing. And I'm on the other side. I'm working with environmental. I'm a councillor in the city council, besides being Zero Waste Latvia member, and we are working on the biological waste management system implementation in Riga. So it's a capital. You have to put containers, you have to bring them to industrial composting. But if you look at Latvia, you see that you need this small scale composting. And when in hackathon, I saw that CESIS is looking for, like small town is looking for a way to manage biological waste on the spot. It was clear that Zana and I, we have to be there and we have to work on this topic. It's kind of bringing both of our experiences together.
That's and I'd just like to hear how you you also have brought back knowledge to your own country, and now you're actually really getting involved in how you can solve some of these challenges that you're facing. So, Sanne, like how did you get involved? It sounds really interesting how you're using your backgrounds now, but how did you, Sanne, get involved in climate action? What was kind of the deciding moment for you?
From the really beginning, or in this Climathon?
Yeah, from the beginning that now led you to Climathon.
Yes, from the really beginning. Well, I was still living in a small Latvian town, quite similar to that to CESIS, which which challenge we tried to solve in this hackathon, and we still then in a typical flat without a garden and without composting. But I was already really involved in environmental preservation issues, focusing more on daily life, because I quite fast understood that we can't put all the countries into reserve, nature protection reserve, that the human impacts will always be there. And if we want to improve and something and to live as sustainably as possible, maybe I should start from human. And well, Marita, talking about Climathon, Marita started to work on organic waste management topics here in Riga. And when she noticed this opportunity, she instantly came to me asking whether I'm interested in. And it took about, I don't know, 2 minutes for me to decide. So I was in, and I was, yes, soon after we involved also other participants and other competences, and that help us go further. But yes, there was no hesitation to go on and try to be among those young students doing the same, not sleeping at night and contacting everyone and in urgence at the weekend. So it was great.
And Marita, what was it about the Climathon that made you call Sana and say, hey, we need to go to that event? What was it that really spoke to you?
I've been following Climathon like for years, reading the challenges, and I always found them very interesting. But in this case, because we are both with Anna, we are quite busy. It was this challenge what invited us to participate. I think this time was this challenge that was so good, such a good fit, such an interesting and exciting challenge. Because I've been looking for some Latvian place that would take this step and say, hey, we want small scale composting, not only industrial composting. So. Yeah, it was a challenge. The city it's ASIS basically.
Yeah. So while we're talking, I also just want to let all the viewers know that you can actually still post questions to Susanna and Marita. If you have any questions, then I'll follow up on them towards the end. But Sana, you also mentioned in your introduction that you actually have a third team member. So could you just tell me, like, are there any more team members, or how big is your team, and are you maybe looking for someone to join your team now that you worked on this idea?
So as I mentioned, we got 2 more members, Aya and Krishans, and one of them is our how to say, our expert to ensure that our proposed ideas take into consideration the user needs and limits. And Aya also helped us with the challenge town's local context, because she's from CESIS. And she also figured out the approximative budget and all the financial details. And the 4th member, yes, Krishan, he was really here to keep in mind that our project needs to start from a really historical center of a town. So there are some constraints about urban planning, and he also designed magnificent compost bins and other visual creations. So right now, I think we are quite complete to start our idea. Maybe, of course, if there are some more people and some more enthusiasm coming to us, we will take into consideration. Of course, we would like to have more and more experience from other European cities and towns already doing the community compost. So, but locally, yes, I think we have quite a good basis to start on.
Yeah.
And it seems that it's moving.
That sounds like a really good team, a really good starting point. That's probably also why you won the Climathon in Riga. And Riga is such a beautiful city. But Marita, could you tell me just a little bit about the challenges that you worked on? So what was actually the challenge that was posed to you during the Climathon that you worked on?
So our challenge, it came from CESIS. It's a town in Latvia, a historical town. And what they wanted to do is have a local biological waste management in a historical center of city. involving, they were interested in restaurants, like restoration services, cafeterias, restaurants, and local community as well. So what we offered, should I explain the solution over as well?
Yeah,
So,
please do tell us about the idea that you came up with during the Climathon.
yeah, oh, I think I might sneeze in a moment. So, so basically, what we did is we looked at this challenge from 3 points of view. Like compost have layers, our solution has layers as well. First of all, it's providing knowledge of composting for people, and here comes like Zana's knowledge of this is what you do, this is what you have to do to make a compost box or compost pile, this is what you have to take into account. Then the second level would be this local society organization and involvement of local society, because even if people know how to compost, if they have some prejudices against it, or if it's not accepted in a local community, or if they do not feel motivated to do it, they will not do it. And even to bring this composting inside local community, you have to take like small steps and understand where to start. So we had like 3 phases. We started with local active community. So basically I hope we will, because we are already working with phases to do it. We will place composting boxes in a place of one local organization and 3 other organizations of people from different ages, like youngsters, elderly people will be invited to bring their compost to these boxes. This place will be like a place to unite all of the local active community, like compost bringing people together. And the next step will be understanding of local situation, because you have a lot of private houses there, but even local governments, they do not know how many of them are composting and why they are not composting. So it would be a local level composting promotion program with educational classes for local community promotion of composting. For example, providing vouchers for composting boxes for people who do not have it, or discounts for waste management for people who make their own compost. Because in cases you have just big common waste containers in a couple of places in this historical center where you have to bring your own waste. So for somebody you have to bring you do not have a different rate if you produce more or less waste. So you have no motivation to make your own compost pile. And the third step here, we take like the jump to the next level. We create a program with local youngsters and local restaurants of composting of the waste made by cafeterias and restaurants. And we create kind of a program of compost that this compost later can be used as a tourist souvenirs that the town can sell instead of keychains or whatever. They can sell as compost as well, or give it as a present. And youngsters get a small fee from companies for bringing the waste and composting it, but this is not the money that they earn for themselves. It goes, for example, into the management of like local youth center and getting extra money for installations or activities they are doing. They already want to make a place like a recording studio, so youngsters can record music. So they would get this benefit of common benefit of this recording room or some other installations in future. And for restaurants, of course, it's we are still trying to understand if our motivation is good for restaurants, but they would get this recognition marks that they are green restaurants, they are sustained, they're taking some sustainable steps. And of course, for them now, they have to bring their own waste, their biological waste, to the common public waste bins as well. So it's an extra step for workers to take, and as waste, it's quite heavy, at least we hope so. And the third, so we have this level of involvement of society. And then one more level that we are looking at, it's legislation. Because you have to, as we know in EU, you have to collect separately this biological waste. Unfortunately, in Latvia, and I know in some other countries as well, currently we see this industrial composting as only serious option and the only option that should be accounted. And if we do not include these local composting initiatives or household composting and statistics of Latvia now looks quite bad because it looks like we are bringing all our biological waste and we do not sort it. We bring them to land, we just bring it to landfilling, while the actual situation is that outside of Riga, in towns and in countryside, people are composting, so it's just not accounted. So in cooperation with our environmental ministry, we would like to create a system for accounting of this waste, but later could be used nationwide as well.
Okay, thank you. I think that sounds like I've just become very excited about this waste idea that you come up with. I think it's really interesting, and I like how you also divided it into these 3 steps where there's also a learning component. I think that's really interesting. So Sanne, what's your next step? What do you have to do now to get going? Because it seems like you have the plan there. What's the next step?
So yeah, as Marita explained, we have several steps. Some of them are legally already possible. Some we hope soon, but that's for sure that one of the biggest advantages of this Climathon that not only CESIS heard about our idea, and other municipalities of Latvia, other regional towns, they heard these ideas and they are already interested in collaborating to scale up this to adapt to their local contexts. And that's for sure that we are already discussing with some of them how to work together with what resources, with what persons, because one of our strong points is also involving the local communities, local enterprises, local people. So of course it's too short here to explain everything in details, but we worked a lot already during this hackathon to contact local structures as institutes, tourism centers, companies, youth centers, and so on. And they were all interested to participate. And we already had some precise points how to start with to get to that first phase, the first step when you just introduce the community compost in the city center for the most active ones, and when they are used to the concept and they see that quite practical and it amazes the tourists too, and it can bring some new energy in historical places. Then we can look forward for those motivation instruments, working with the municipalities, working with the ministries, and so on. Yeah. So yes, we already have some some steps planned in shorter and longer terms.
It definitely sounds like it. We have one question from the audience, the viewers. So Marita, you touched upon it a little bit, but maybe very briefly, can you share some more insights on how is it actually that you get people involved in reducing waste?
Well, as I said, in this case, we are taking steps by step. So we are starting with the active part of society that's already a member of local organizations. We are using, as Anna mentioned, all the possible local sources and local social networks that are already existing. I think I've heard it in another material on how to promote biological waste management, that you should not start with going from house to house. You should start with this active part of society and existing contacts. So this is a way of entry, kind of getting our foot into the door and starting to speak with people who are active. They see, as Anna mentioned, that composting is working, and then we can go to the rest of the community saying, hey, look at this thing is working. Compost, it's not smelly, no rat infestations. So it's okay. Why are you doing at your home? Why you are not doing at your home? in your backyard. What are your problems? What do you need to do it in your backyard?
Yeah, I think a very good point. Also, just showing that it's not something that's like you said, the smell is probably something that could put people off, and if you can show that that's actually not the case, then that's I guess a great start also to change people's minds. Just my very last question. So, Sanne, I want to hear, did you, apart from you developed this really amazing idea that you're now going to work on and hopefully implement in the city of Riga, but did you have any other learnings while being part of the Climathon?
Yeah, this idea would probably be started to be implemented the first in the smaller scale towns and cities in Latvia other than Riga, but we hope so, maybe once. What else? We learned a lot about that's very important to keep the frame. That the frame can be useful, but it's even more useful to get out of the frame and to be more creative when working around so thought nasty topics as waste. That gradual problem research and solution preparation provide deeper results because this hackathon, this hackathon program, this hackathon planning, when you need to check in twice a day and to report your progress and go on and go deeper and maybe to to change your initial ideas. It's quite a lot, I think, inspired from Scrum and Agile logics, and we really enjoyed that. And I think that we will also take it for further work. We definitely improved our presentation and pitching skills because we used to work a lot in long working sessions and conferences, but this was something new, at least for me. And yes, it was really amazing to see that Latvian cities are very interested in sustainability topics, and there were such a wide range of challenges that initially it was quite sad for me that we can work on only on one challenge at once.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
we also wanted to broad something in that side of Latvia and that side of Latvia, and yeah, this is absolutely something interested, and I invite everyone to try at least once, even if they are not currently working in an environmental field, just to try. And this is something that changes you even afterwards, and that helps to look at the usual topics from the other side.
I think that's a very good message as well, and I think what you said as well. Like there's so many challenges, so hopefully we'll also see you, both of you, back at one of the Climathons maybe next year. Marita, is there anywhere where we can follow your team, or maybe that's something through the Climathon platform? If you keep us informed, that we can keep people up to date on what's going on with your idea.
I think we have to think, do we make our social networks, or how do we do it? But of course, we will inform our local Climathon organizers regarding the progress and the meetings we will have with Stasis shortly. So it will be possible.
Definitely. And
Zane? Yes.
and we'll be happy to share your progress as well with such a great solution. So thank you both so much for taking the time. I know you have a very busy schedule, so thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this, sharing with us what you worked on, sharing with us some of the learnings from your Climathon. I think it was really interesting to hear from both of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you just heard from Sanne and Marita, we do really encourage, or you also, it doesn't matter if you work within the climate sector or not, you can bring your background, like you just heard from some of these teams, into the conversation, help create ideas for your own city as a citizen, so really take action locally. And I think that's something we just want to invite all of you to do. This concludes the Climathon session for today. As you heard, if you joined us in the beginning, my colleague Christian and the program Climate Accelerator will go live at 12 Central European Standard Time on the YouTube page Climate Accelerator and Climate Innovators. And there's going to be a lot of different things happening on some of our social media channels, on Climate-KIC's pages, where you can follow some of the other strategic programs that we have, learn from some of the education programs as well. So do stay tuned, and remember 12 o'clock Central European Standard Time. And also do remember the topic of today, that's water. So if you're working on water-related projects, or if you know anything of great examples of where cities have tackled their local water challenges, then please do share with us under the hashtag Destination 1.5, and that's where point is spelled out. You might also want to call out your own city to say, hey, shouldn't we do a Climathon next year about water? Then do it under the hashtag, and we'll help you amplify the visibility. So hopefully we'll get a Climathon in your city next year. And I hope to see all of you back tomorrow on either our Facebook, on our YouTube page at 10 CET, that's Central European Standard Time, and it's 10 in the morning, 10 a.m. So see you there.